This is interesting. It's March 10th, 2022. I'm watching the evening news. They already presented the Tiger Woods Hall of Fame, his speech. And it also presented the U.S. Census numbers for 2020, which says that there are 18 point something million underrepresented. But there's overstatement, which means at some level, someone is lying to the crown, like the real one, not the fake one that's on the calendar in the grid system that I won't recognize ever. But someone, especially amongst this, during, I don't know, who you rely on for a Fifth Inquisition. I thought it was Spain, but then again, there's the Netherlands tie-in. They also had a New York City, Mayor Adams has a painting where it says Proclamation on it, and it has a seal on it. Again, it looks very French and Indian at the bottom, but I'm going to display it because those are the faces that are lying on the census or are taking on identities of people who somehow have benefits, but the receivership of those benefits may not be the same ethnic origin. They might be sending to a white person, but it might be they're no longer. Their information's been taken and used. Again, it's unclear exactly how the numbers got, from my perspective. I know there are agents in the field who are able to research and investigate that level of crime. I just am not one of them, but I'm just putting together the citations of what the state and the federal, I guess, field officers or investigative journalists, or however that works in the real world, that I've not been able to figure out or find entry into due to other circumstances. So they're faces of the misrepresented, because the census is almost like a trailing number, but there's multiple in order to do forecasting. I mean, there's like a whole system of equations and whatever in being able to verify this stuff.
Well, New York City is honoring school workers who went above and beyond to give students a healthy start to the day.
Our food service employees are true heroes. But when life throws our families curveballs, as we've seen through...
He's representing New York City as some kind of education chancellor. I don't know how he got into office. I don't know who elected him. I don't know what part of the problem is a problem or how to correct this at this point.
Throughout this pandemic, these heroes have been there, making sure every student is taken care of.
They are heroes. Well,
there's that proclamation. And again, I don't know who issues a proclamation. I don't know what level of importance you have to be at, because again, things that I have not been made privy of or exposed to, or had some over 6 foot genetically secure to hold my hand in explaining this.
Schools Chancellor David Banks and Mayor Eric Adams today recognized this year's New York City Hunger Hero.
Now here's the motley crew for whatever that means. I mean, if you do look-see, I mean, how represented are we on this staircase of how they're conducting a census and then looking at a real-life example? Just again, statisticians being what they are, they don't necessarily mind multiple source. So I see potentially one here, so that's one. Potentially one here, but even that's questionable. I know she's not. And, right, so, I mean, again, not even like spot on, but two kind of sort of, but not really. And then a whole lot of, I don't know who was in charge. They're calling them hunger heroes.
The 32 honorees are cooks, food service workers, and aides.
It's interesting. They're serving a piece of ham. Perhaps a piece of Canadian bacon, perhaps. I mean, I don't know. It's a thicker slice of bacon. I'm not sure what Canadian bacon actually looks like. I'm not a foodie or enthusiast of food.
They help fight hunger by going the distance to make sure students had access to healthy meals during the pandemic. Mayor Adams said, quote, the real heroes don't wear capes, they wear aprons and gloves.
Still to come when Eyewitness News first.
Now we'll go back to the census piece.
The U.S. Census Bureau admitting a significant undercount of the population, with as many as 18.8 million, many of them minority descent, left out. It's the biggest net undercount in 3 decades. Breaking it down, officials say black residents were undercounted by about 3.3%, Latinos by nearly 5%, and 5.6% for Native Americans. While Asian residents were likely overestimated by 2.6%, and white residents overcounted by 1.6%. Now, this data is critical because the census helps decide how $1.5 trillion in federal spending is distributed every year. One of Connecticut's...
Just wanted to have a real life example next to the other mention, just because there's a little of this, it would appear, with a whole lot of this, it appears, and I'm in this, but it has a greater area. Just, they say you have the whatever where you are, and then there's a greater area, and then of course there's the great beyond that. So it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.